this is going to be a fun hour. We're going to talk via memes about the mistakes that we see in the wild, and loosely link it to Jurassic Park.
Very loosely.
Just putting that in there. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few different things. We'll just dive straight in. Okay, Jurassic Park, they spent millions on dinosaurs and pennies on IT. They hired one overworked systems administrator, Dennis Nedry. I don't know why I'm pointing at you. And yeah, this guy. We've had loads of horrifying discussions with businesses that are responsible for international CNI. This isn't new. This is still, we see that all the time in the wild. And I think some of this links to budget misalignment. Obviously, it's really nice to spend loads of money on apex predators, electric fences, but how much are they actually spending on IT? We see this so much. And then what happens is, poor Dennis, he's overworked, he's underpaid, and he's the insider threat within the business. We see businesses spend on flashy tech, AI, enhanced whatever, fridges.
It's like, it's not just any toilet, it's an
AI toilet. And then they outsource IT or security to the cheapest bidder, or they ignore it. They go, this is fine, everything's fine. They get the Dennis Nedry syndrome. So this is what we see in the wild. Anyone want to chip in with similar?
What I will say is I think that this starting on this slide is a really good point. So we're not going to try and sell anything. We're not going to push any of our services on this call, generally. But this is a really good advocate post, advocate slide about sometimes outsourcing is the right thing to do. And if Jurassic Park and the guy that looked like the Colonel Sanders from KFC really thought about it, maybe they would have outsourced and got something more productive than Dennis, bless him.
Yeah. Steve just put in the chat another point, outsourcing to cheap. We only need to see the TCS, not TSC with M&S. That's a very good point as well. The thing with outsourcing is you can't outsource the responsibility. So you are still responsible for your security. But if you've got overworked, underpaid staff or only one person, then it is better to get in the experts and get more support. But it's still your risk. It's still your business. You're responsible for the security. You're responsible for keeping those businesses good. If security is an afterthought, like with Jurassic Park, we see that with the bad actors get in. You get the ransomware. And businesses do typically think it'll be fine. They spare no expense on dinosaur cloning, but couldn't be bothered with the second layer of security controls, which is great until a T-Rex yeets a Jeep.
Yeets a Jeep. I don't know what language this is, but I love it. Yeah.
We see this as well, like businesses prioritize investor wow factor over security. They prepare for shiny dashboards or management porn, as I've heard it quoted, and I love that, for the investors. But actually behind the scenes, they've got one poor IT sysadmin with God mode who can do whatever he wants. Okay.
So has anyone got any comments on Dennis Nedry? Anything at all? You don't like his shirt? You hate the look on his face? You want to marry him?
I see myself as the T-Rex, big and scary looking. Okay. Right. Next.
I can't see Ivy, but I'm sure she's gorgeous.
Next slide. Okay. Security theatre. I'm going to pick on Tristan because I know Tristan has got some thoughts on this. Feel free to chime in, Tristan.
Oh, nobody wants that. Talking about performative security. Come on.
Okay. So,
Hello.
flashy fence. Yeah. Tell us some of your experiences, Tristan, if you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we won't call out any names or anything, but you get a lot of performative security, and it comes down to, you get lots of focus on dashboards, observability and metrics. And for example, less of a focus on actionable security controls. When the business pushes back and says, we don't want to do this, it just gets passed over rather than a shift in focus to say, well, all right, how can we, change our culture? How can we improve, our processes to move this stuff left so it does get implemented, rather than just that constant resistance and friction between trying to put security operations in place and have like actionable systems and processes, versus just buying something and going, look, it's got a lovely dashboard, it shows us all our vulnerabilities that we never fix.
Yeah, and they keep coming up again and again and again. We see this all the time, and it can be businesses, maybe they have a SIEM but they don't switch it on because it's too expensive. They hadn't factored in the events per second, the license fees, the ingest fees, or they feel that they're secure because they've got a SOC, but actually there's only a couple of log sources and it's not covering the whole business.
Or this seems built wrong. Like we've seen a situation where we had a DFAR call out for a company that had used, one of the world's top providers apparently, to implement a SIEM for them. They'd done it on a flat network. They got hit with ransomware and it crippled their SIEM, so they couldn't use it. So like stupid things like that we can call that out. That is pretty stupid. Things like that is very performative, because on paper they had a SIEM, they had alerts, they had people looking at it, but when it actually came down to an incident, it was unusable. So there's a lot of performative security out there, security theatre, and the way that we can try and tie this back to Jurassic Park is spending all that money on the external infrastructure, making it look, high gates, big, the big gates that are on that picture there, electric fences and all those kinds of things, but they didn't do any planning for anything getting out.
Yeah, it is a classic example.
I should have linked that to DLP.
Oh,
No redundant controls either. Everything on the same circuits. No redundant controls. Everything on the same circuits. Looks great, but no testing, right?
Yeah, no backup power, no layered controls, no plan for what if Dennis literally disables everything from a single terminal. But we see it as well with 200-page security policies that no one reads. Yeah. Annual checkbox pen test, and the same findings come up year on year. And I think you mentioned the fancy dashboards that says everything's all green, what underneath everything's on fire and the dinos are running wild. It's about complexity as well. Jurassic Park was a technological marvel, but run by a guy who coded it all himself and didn't document anything. That does sound familiar in lots of businesses. Outsourcing without oversight or proper control, proper governance, means you get locked into vendors and you've got zero resilience. So yeah, we've touched on here as well, security isn't just about tech, it's about culture. Obviously, Jurassic Park had world-class technology, but they had really poor leadership that kept saying everything's under control whilst everyone was getting eaten. It's a bit extreme. But you see it, and we'll touch on the breaches, you see it on the different ways M&S, Co-op and Harrods all actually responded to their breaches. Harrods did the royal way of we don't talk about it. It didn't happen. Whereas the other two sorry, we'll let Faye in. Okay, so security shouldn't just be a line item or something you throw over the fence. It's embedded in how your teams work. We know that. If your outsourced security provider or even your one person can't talk to your teams and respond quickly, you've got a Jurassic Park with no evacuation plan. Token gestures as well instead of risk reduction. So Jurassic Park had a visitor centre full of screens, maps, soothing music, but behind the scenes it was all chaos, bad code and no disaster recovery. Vibes-based security.
Vibes-based security, I love that.
So yeah, we know what security theatre is. I think as well the passwords, what passwords, you got the Nedry, there we go again. They didn't have any multi-factor. I suppose back in those days, did they even have multi-factor?
No, probably not.
But they should have had more than one person with God access to everything. It's easier to show off a firewall than to justify threat modeling, tabletop exercises, crisis. But when T-Rexes escape, then you're stuck.
So then you're like red off when you're on the toilet.
Yeah. That is one of my fave scenes. Right, let's have a little break. What are people's favourite scenes in Jurassic Park? We've talked too much.
I mean,
now.
mine's the toilet one.
Yeah.
Asking the important questions here.
Yeah. Do people want to put in the chat? Oh, we've got a comment in the chat, actually. Slarek said, what do you mean by cheap? Charging $7.50 per hour ain't cheap. Just because you have one person in the IT department does not mean that the company is automatically vulnerable. There's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of bad vendors. Oh, bad vendors. We get onto that. $7.50 an hour is expensive. You're right. That isn't cheap.
Well, I think
Depends what you experience.
the main thing to consider is relevance, right? So, yes, in some instances, not even having anyone in IT and having outsourcing it to a local person or doing it yourself, depending on the size of the business or the point of the business, that's fine. Having one person in IT, fine, but it's got to be relevant. You've got to look at what you are dependent on as a business, where your revenue comes from, and tie that into what your need for resiliency is and all these different things. So with Jurassic Park, definitely needed more than just one IT guy, 100%. So I don't think that's debatable. It's not a hairdresser's.
No. We see this so many times, but more the US, but you can speak to businesses and they're responsible for critical national infrastructure, and there's one person responsible for IT and cyber. And then that one person gets lumbered with cyber, which that's not their experience. It's just they're suddenly responsible for it. So best scenes, Tristan said, when Sam Neill pretends to get electrocuted by the fence to scare the kids.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah. Do you know what I love? I love it when that little girl goes. Like, why did she do that? Why didn't she just scream? There's a dinosaur there. Like, she just goes, she elongates her neck and goes, and then screams. You're like, what was the director going for there? So it's like that.
Christina said clever girl as well, and we all went.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I love it when the little girl goes, she's like, this is a Unix system. I know this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you do. I remember when I was little, I was like, yeah, I want to be like her. Give me a Linux. Give me a Linux.
It's like cheerleading. Give me an Linux.
Oh God, I need to stop drinking.
Oh, okay, right. So, what's next?
You're not sharing your screen.
I am.
Okay.
I am sharing my screen, aren't I?
Yeah.
For those who missed it, we were out last night till quite late, so we are a little bit
work. It was work related.
Yeah,
but it did involve Prosecco.
Yeah. Okay. No login, no alerts, no plan. You can't get breached if.
Yeah, you can't see it. Maybe it didn't happen. Like, we've seen that before, but we've actually had we had a call over a year ago with a head of IT that was really switched on, and he was like, okay, we need to be doing logging and monitoring. He got the budget holder on the call, and the budget holder was like, yeah, but if we see it, we've got to do something about it. And the IT guy was like, yeah. How this works. Yeah, that's kind of how this works. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. So it's that illusion of security, though, isn't it? It's that illusion of control. You've got your control room, you've got your flashy UIs, you've got your Unix systems, that 90s CGI. Yeah. You've got your poo-poo maps or your management porn, as it's been described to me before, which I love. But no visibility in what's going on, what your people are doing. No meaningful controls.
And even sometimes you can outsource it to try and find that, to try and solve that problem. And what you end up with, again, is very performative. So there's a lot of companies that will provide outsourced 24/7 SOC, and it will have all of the bells and whistles on it. But actually, something happens and they don't add any value. They just kick it straight back to the customer. And the customer, oh, this IP looks weird, maybe you should deal with it. And the customer is going, I'm pretty sure I just paid you a shit ton of money to tell me how to deal with it, or actually deal with it for me. So that's something that's a frustration commonly with companies. And I was on the receiving end of that before that security company. So
Yeah. Tristan's just put his hand up. Go on, Tristan.
I was to say, Eliza kind of covered it, but as I say, another performative thing usually is you get that sort of shift left of responsibility, but not actionability. So I've outsourced my SOC, my MDR, and then the MDR comes back and says, okay, cool, you really need to stop doing this because it's really bad. And they go, no, sorry, that doesn't do it for us, or our operations team can't work like that. And you end up in a position where you're making recommendations, you're trying to action changes, like real changes to make things more secure, and all they've done is shift the business pushing back from them onto the outsource company, right? But what they do is say, well, we're paying you to sort it, right? So, and it's that, if we get breached, it's your fault. So it's like almost a shift left of the responsibility, but not the actionability. And again, that's really performative because they're like, oh yeah, we've got someone in, we've got experts, and it's like, do you let them do anything though? And it's like, no, clearly not.
Yeah. And we've been on the receiving end of that sometimes as well, where there's been particular issues where we've had to say, no, you guys are going to have to do that. We can't do it unless you want to give us complete admin access to your entire estate at all times, just in case we need it, which is obviously not a good idea either. So yeah, it's the antithesis of a collaborative approach, right? Which is quite dangerous, and you end up with providers don't provide any business context, which is really painful for the customer. And you get this, you get this with pen test reports, all the way down. We're talking about big things here, like SOC and SIEM, but all the way down to just a 3 or 4 day pen test to get the results, and you're reading it, going, "Oh, that remediation doesn't work in this environment," or that remediation would mean that the app doesn't work, or the website's unusable, or the point of the business, which is to allow people to navigate it without any friction, goes out the window if we were to do that. And then if you want to ring them and say, hey, this isn't going to work for us, can you help me find a workaround? They go, yeah, sure, you need to pay extra for that, right? So that's something that we do with all of our pen tests. Everyone gets aftercare. So if there is anything that we do recommend, anything our penetration testers recommend that has gone through a QA process and no one has really understood the business context, because we might only do pen testing for that company, and we're recommending something that they can't implement, or it would be quite damaging for them to implement, even though on paper it makes sense. They have got an aftercare. We have an aftercare policy where they can ring us, speak to a senior consultant, and have a brainstorming session and try and work out and hash out a better way of doing things for them specifically. So I won't go into too much detail, but you can ask us about pen testing if you did want to. Actually, go to the. You're still talking about that one, sorry.
Yeah, I think one of the things businesses have to realize is you've got to have a strategy. You need to know what you're securing, why, and how, not just slapping on controls and hoping for the best. You need to understand how the business makes money, how it operates, and apply security to the business rather than security. I need to have all these shiny tools and all these different things, but actually we're securing a website which no one trades through. And actually over here, we've got our critical systems on a flat network all together. So it's understanding how the business operates and applying that business context to your strategy as well. With Jurassic Park, obviously, nobody had practiced for chaos. Nobody knew how to shut things down safely, or who even had access, or even where the raptors were. It's about having a plan or a strategy for when things go wrong. It's about resilience. It's planning for failure. It's planning for containment. It's planning for response. Even things like we've had it where businesses don't know if they're going to pay a ransom.
Yeah.
The time to be figuring that out is not when you're held to ransom.
Yeah. And when we do tabletop exercises, for example, and they say, well, if they're doing a ransomware one, and they might say to us, well, what do we do? Do we pay it or not? And we have our personal opinions on it, but we will always say we don't interfere. So we will always say, this is what could potentially happen if you did. This is what could potentially happen if you didn't. There is a value in stalling. There's a value in a performative negotiation in some ways as well. So we are always hit with how shocked we are that the values have not been decided before this happens. And when I say values, I don't mean that in like a fluffy kind of ambiguous, let's all worship, Greta Thunberg or something. I don't know. Like, I'm not talking about those kinds of values. I'm talking about like if you've got different stakeholders in the form of customers, employees, and investors, for example, you need to decide privately before anything happens in what priority order those go in. You have to be able to understand what the point of your business is, right? And a lot of people that will be doing particular jobs within your company, they won't understand what the point of the business is in the way that the senior leadership do. It'll be a different perspective. That all needs to be ironed out. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I got off on a tangent because I'm dressed like Ned Flanders and I don't feel very well.
It's back to security can be outsourced, but your risk can't. You can outsource your flashy tools. You can buy someone else's compliance report. But you can't outsource the ownership of risk.
It's your reputation at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. And if we look at Jurassic Park, it didn't. Even if they had outsourced to a better security vendor, it needed better leadership that understood security. If your organization thinks security is someone else's problem, you're just building your own disaster waiting to happen. And it's about that buy-in from the business as well, that cross-team communication. We've been in many calls where a business has been breached and every department thinks their department is the most important. They need to get the systems back up. They want their systems back up. And it's understanding, what are your critical systems? What are you actually protecting? And like you just said, does everybody understand how the business operates and makes money?
Even if they don't, it doesn't really matter. The people at the top of the business need to have the private conversation where they go, if that were to happen, we would have to prioritize our investors over our customers, or we would have to prioritize our customers over our employees, or whatever, right? And they have to have that brutal conversation that maybe they don't want to put in writing, I don't know, but they need to be able to do that. And it tends to become very abrasive to solving the problem when people are having that argument in a crisis. We've been on incidents, we've worked on some major incidents with our DFIR service where you've got payday in 2 days' time, but all of the pay systems have gone down, but also so is all of the operational stuff that generates money. So you've got the head of HR and payroll agreeing that they need to release these funds and they need to find a way to get the payment systems back up, where you might have someone in IT going, hang on a minute, in order to do that, we have to prioritize IT. And then you've got someone that's head of communications saying, well, hang on a minute, in order to even start there, we need to get our wording right, and we need to not panic our employees. And all of these conversations are happening, and you do need that strong leadership to say, okay, pipe down, Jenny, shut up, Derek. Actually, the business generates money this way. So instead of talking about how we're going to get money out to people, staff or not, we need to get the operations back up and running. And it's a difficult conversation to have, and it ruffles some feathers, but that is a position that we find a lot of companies aren't in, and they aren't able to have that really clear strategic goal of how they get their business, because they're not quite aligned on what the business actually does.
Yeah. Single points of failure. Jurassic Park ran everything on one network: gates, electric fences, cameras, locks. So when Nedry disabled his bit, he actually disabled everything.
Cheeky bugger.
Yeah. We've seen this when businesses just get flattened. The weak password, 1 weak password can cripple a business. We're in 2025. It shouldn't be 1 weak password can cripple a business.
Or someone whose job it is day to day. Sorry, I'm distracted because my hair is so nice. Sorry, I'm such a prick. So it's someone's job to click on links. So they get emails, they click on links, they open documents. Like, that's 90% of their job. And yet, if they click on the wrong link, the technical controls have not been put in place to protect the business. How ridiculous is that? But we are in that situation still in a lot of companies because they've not quite cottoned on to the fact that you have to enable people to do their job safely.
Yeah. And actually, Nedry didn't need to break in. He was the system.
Yeah. He wasn't.
Nobody was
He
watching
wasn't
it.
Linux.
We see it as well when people move around businesses and they've still got God rights to everything. They used to be in development, maybe now they're in engineering, but they've still got access to things. Nedry had admin access to literally everything and nobody questioned it.
Yeah.
Nobody monitored it. There was no backups. There was no logs. There was no second person with a key. So when he went rogue or he got salty, he just
Didn't he
do what
nick
he
some
wanted.
eggs and put them in a cooler as well?
Yeah, he did.
Or
didn't
am
he?
I confusing that with a different film?
Was that Jurassic Park 1?
Pre-hysteria, about that boy that has those baby dinosaurs and he's selling it. Has anyone seen that from the 90s? It might have been a fever dream, I don't know. But that's another dinosaur film. But there's a cooler and there is a chubby guy with curly hair that's never mind. I think that's a different film.
Okay. Let's stick to Jurassic Park. Yeah, when you've got critical infrastructure on the hands of one overprivileged user, things, whether that's outsourced user or whether that's an underpaid one, you've built your own little dinosaur problem. The other thing is critical systems deserve isolation, not convenience. You shouldn't have dinosaur cages, systems and embryo storage all on the same network. It's like running your banking app and having your kids' Minecraft server on the same laptop. You just wouldn't do it.
That's a great analogy. And that would be dangerous because they'd be spending on all those Minecraft pennies.
Yeah.
What they're called?
Oh.
Robux.
Robux is something different. Minecraft is... Do Minecraft have pennies?
Robux.
You're thinking
Robux is Roblox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to segment your networks. You've got to air gap your crown jewels. And I promised myself I wouldn't say crown jewels. I just said it. I'm so bad.
Dino eggs.
Dino eggs. Yeah. Don't let convenience drive your system's architecture. That's what we need to think about. Whether it's OT or genetically reanimated predators, we've got to be protected and not in the same network as your tech systems, you would hope. Jurassic Park didn't fail because of the dinosaurs. It failed because of their design decisions and really poor security leadership. And security by obscurity. Another really horrible phrase. I'm very sorry. It's a Unix system. I know this. A child navigating critical infrastructure is funny until you realize the entire park security was apparently based on publicly available software with no restrictions. That should not happen, but we see it in the wild.
And default configurations
and no passwords.
Yeah.
So then last slide, any questions or thoughts? Dinosaurs?
Got any comments?
We have a question that's come in from social media, which I have just clicked out of by accident. Bear with me a sec. Here we go. So someone said they can't make it today, but they have a question. How do you assure your SOC provider is doing proper triage and not just log and pass?
That's a good one. How do you assure that? Well, going back to what Tristan was saying earlier, they have to be enabled to actually take action where you need it, and be empowered to make those decisions. Or people internally need to be empowered to do that, so that there's a collaborative approach. You can put in place things like SLAs. You've got to know what structure, but yeah, that's again very vague. So we've seen companies that have got strict SLAs of every alert needs a response within 15 minutes. So that just means every alert, it's not feasible, right? If you've got thousands of alerts, so every alert just ends up getting forwarded from the scene to some other thing. I
had a conversation the other day with a business. We don't talk about our customers, but literally their SOC was copying and pasting from alerts from the scene into Jira. And that was their idea of triage, and it was a big six type company, not big four, but big six. So you can probably guess one of the two that it is.
Wow.
And that's what passed for good security in that business.
Yeah, just standard things like, if you were going to hire an employee, you'd do a reference check, right? So, we get companies that will come through all the time and say, can we chat to one of your current customers? And like, yeah, absolutely. If a provider is confident that they're doing a decent job, they're going to be able to enable you to do that. So I guess it depends what you're hoping to get from it. If you are going to lock a particular company into it only doing the minority of what they can do, i.e., for example, you don't allow them to speak to you on Slack or whatever, right? They can only speak to you through a ticketing system. You're reducing that level of ingrained support. There's various different things that you can do.
I'm going to stop sharing now.
Oh, very cool. Got any other questions?
Yeah, we've got a couple coming on email. So a couple of really good ones, which are
Guys, can put questions in the chat, by the way, if anyone does have any, or if anyone just wants to say anything. Jurassic Park.
I feel like we need to take a look at original T-Rex as well. I don't know why they're not on the screen. Can we focus on original?
What's original T-Rex? I don't know what's happening.
Who's that?
And
what is that picture?
I love that picture.
Don't know who that is. And Ivy, you're not scary. You're not big and scary.
So the
size-wise, I am. Sorry, I was able to sneak out so you can see me finally.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
So one of the questions is, all of these outsourced SOCs like to talk about how brilliant their technology is. How do I get to find out what's under the hood? Will their tech stack work with ours?
Ask them. So your competent people asking their competent people questions about how technologies integrate or complement each other is simple. And you shouldn't be making any decisions that involve the exchange of funds without knowing that. And it might be that they're not going to work very well together, but you like the service. Or it might be that they could complement each other, but you don't like the service, or they're not going to support you in the way you want. It's not, we always say, don't we, that like, if we're not able to do something, we'll be honest with the customer, because that, or the potential customer, because that always puts you in a position of trust. So then they might go, okay, actually, this provider is, we're a complete Microsoft house or whatever, and we want to use this technology or whatever. But they remember you for having integrity, and they might come back to us with something else. So, yeah, trust the process. If you ask them questions, you'll get the information that you need, and if you don't, fuck them off.
Yeah,
not that's unprofessional. Sorry. Tell them to go away.
Hoping this gets read out. Why don't T-Rexes high five each other?
Oh God, this is going to be rude.
Because they're extinct.
It was going to be something really extinct. Oh, that's good.
Wow.
Any more questions? Stop the recording now.
No, don't do that yet. We've had another one, and then please, guys, ask us some stuff. But I've had 3 quotes from an outsourced SOC. They all offer different things, and the pricing is wildly different. How am I supposed to compare them?
Oh, you get this. You look back at your requirements. Yeah, we see this a lot. You can't compare apples to oranges. You have to go back to your requirements of what do I need from a service and map the quotes against that. If they're making it difficult for you and selling you something you don't need or a problem you didn't know you had, then rip that one up.
We always say as well, if you go into a conversation trying to solve problem A and you come out learning that you've got a whole alphabet of problems that you didn't know you had before you had that conversation. You've just been successfully sold to. So you're the one with the problem. You understand your problem inside out. Make sure that the points that you need in order to solve that problem are met. And if there's bells and whistles and all kinds of different things that you actually don't think are going to really work well for your business, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to throw myself headfirst out of this building.
You've lost your train of thought.
I've lost the plot. Yes, I think we all know what I was trying to say, or not. I mean, I don't think anyone cares. I think they just want to shut up and stop dressing like Ned Flanders. My fucking sleeveless cardigan. What was I thinking? Who do I think I am? I'm wearing a sleeveless cardigan.
Slowack says more coffee. Yes, more coffee, definitely. And also the original T-Rex, I've pinned them to the screen. I love that picture. I'm not extinct, I'm alive and kicking. It's still there on the beach.
I don't know what's happening. This is like a fever dream.
Any more questions?
No, good.
Right, I'm going to stop the recording now then.
Yay.
And then people can come on camera if they want to.
Yeah, come on, camera.